So here's a small patch of garlic mustard, and it's also growing mixed in here with squirrel corn. Today we are at Clay Cliffs Natural Area, which is over 100 acres just north of Leland, and the bottom is an old farmstead, but up top here in these hills it's a lot of beautiful native spring ephemerals and a really cool beech maple ash forest. I am going to show you how to identify garlic mustard, which is an invasive plant species, and I will show you how to remove it and then how to properly dispose of it. At the beginning of this trailhead is what we call a boot brush station, and that's a great place that you actually wipe your boots through a brush, and what that does is it takes off all the seed and dirt that might be in your boots, and that's a huge way that invasive species can spread, is through us as vectors and carrying that into a natural area or leaving with it. Garlic mustard is not a good plant to have in the forest because it's what we call an invasive species, which means it takes over and it eliminates the native spring wildflowers that would grow at the same time. It also is an allelopathic plant, which means that it sends a chemical through its roots into the soil that prohibits other things from growing, including sometimes fungi that live in the soil that help other things grow. So garlic mustard can very quickly establish where one plant might be in a space surrounded by natives in a year. If that plant is allowed to fruit and seed, then that could be hundreds of seeds that drop around that. And so each year that you don't control it, you get larger and larger patches of garlic mustard that take up the space from the native plants. The garlic mustard plant is a rosette of leaves, which means they kind of form a circle around the base, and then it shoots up to form a white flower and then eventually a green seed pod. These are examples of what garlic mustard looks like. It can be very tiny like this, and it can be very almost bushy like this. Garlic mustard has almost a heart-shaped leaf to it, as you can see there. Violets do as well, so make sure when you're pulling it's garlic mustard and not violets. But and then this one has a giant root system, but they also have a very small root system on small plants, and they kind of create a J in the root, so when you're pulling it you really have to make sure that you're grabbing that root to also pull it out. Because it's a J shape, it can make it tricky to get the root. Garlic mustard also has this kind of deeper purple stem, so that's a good way to identify it as well. So anyone that likes to be out in the woods and is comfortable kind of traversing uneven terrain and maybe getting over logs can do this kind of work. And so it can be strenuous if you're doing it for a long period of time, but if you're just spending an hour or two, it can actually be really quite wonderful and meditative. So when you're pulling garlic mustard out of the ground, you really want to grab it down here where the root connects to the stem. If you pull it from up here, it'll just break like that. And if you leave this in the ground, it'll pretty much re-sprout and keep growing. So really grab it by the root, and sometimes you kind of have to shake it a little bit, but try to get that root out if you can. It is a great activity for families to come and do together. If you have little ones, you might have to help them now and then, but they get great satisfaction out of pulling plants out of the ground too. If you don't like to bend over because it hurts your back, then you can physically sit on the ground and pull. That works too. After you've picked your garlic mustard, and actually as you're picking it, you want to put it in a garbage bag, and make sure you fill your garbage bag to the comfort level you have for carrying heavy things. So, I'm way up here on the top of Clay Cliffs, so I'll probably fill this halfway. It's quite a ways down. If I fill this bag full, I can't carry it. If you would like to help the Conservancy control garlic mustard, we would love it. We really need a lot of help. We have a lot of acres, and some of that is heavily impacted. So if you'd like to learn more, please go to the website, leelanauconservancy.org, and you can sign up to volunteer. You can come on out and help us keep these forests covered in native plants.